Welcome 7th grade students. Today for our little extra mini lessons, we're going to do multiplying and dividing integers. So when we're multiplying and dividing integers, just like before, I need you to make sure you have a pencil, a paper, and you're not allowed to use a calculator. So let's take a peek here. When multiplying two numbers with the same sign, the answer is positive. So what we've been doing all along is we have been multiplying positives times positive. The answer is positive. However, when you multiply a negative times a negative, the answer is also positive. Just think of it as one negative cancels out the other negative, but this only works for multiplication. If you have numbers that are opposite signs, one's positive, one's negative, the answer is always a negative answer. Now remember, this is only true for multiplying and dividing, which we'll be doing in just a few minutes. So the rules are simple. They're very straightforward for multiplying and dividing. One of each, it's negative. If they're the same, they're positive. You just have to keep that straight and keep that in your mind that it's different than adding and subtracting. So, as simple as it can be, the first thing that you do when you multiply is you look to see if your answer is going to be positive or negative. Since only one of my numbers is negative, my answer is negative. And then it's simply 5 times 3, which is 15. So negative 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. For the next problem, if you need to remember that a number right next to another number in parentheses means multiplication. So this is the same as multiplication. Negative times negative is a positive. 3 times 6 is 18. Now, of course, you don't need the plus sign there, but sometimes while you're practicing and getting to know your rules, it's nice to write that down just so you remember. For the next one, a negative 8 times negative 2, well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so it's positive 16. Again, the plus sign is not necessary. Now, it doesn't matter which number is negative, but this time the first number is negative and the second number is positive, so no matter what, our answer is negative. 9 times 4 is 36. And even if there's three numbers, if one of the numbers is negative, that one negative sign carries throughout the whole thing. One negative is negative, and now you can kind of multiply one step at a time. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 7 is 70. So the solution to this one is negative 70. That's as simple as multiplying is. Now what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to sneak over to my division one. And the great part about division is the rules that you just learned in the last two about multiplying are exactly the same. When dividing two numbers with the same sign, the answer is always positive. So when positive divided by a positive is positive. A negative divided by a negative is positive. Now the trick is just remembering what division might look like. So here's a traditional division problem. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 27 divided by 9 is 3. When dividing two numbers with opposite signs, the answer is always negative. No matter if it's the first number or the second number, if one is negative and one is positive, the answer is negative. Now notice you have a similar problem right here, but division is going to be with the division bar. This is actually my favorite way of showing division. I don't love to use that division sign anymore, but negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 27 divided by 9 is 3. So again, very straightforward. The rules for multiplying and dividing are just always the same. But adding and subtracting, it depends on if you have more positives or negatives. So again, as you practice, negative 32 divided by negative 4, and the negative 4 is in parentheses just to protect it, but we know a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 32 divided by 4 is 8. If we look at the next one, my favorite way of showing division, is 28 divided by negative 7. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 28 divided by 7 is 4. And finally, again, negative divided by a positive is a negative. 15 divided by 3 is 5. A negative divided by a negative, I think of it like this. When you're dividing, those negatives cancel. 56 divided by 7 is 8. And last but certainly not least, a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 63 divided by 7 is 9. So again, just remember for both multiplication and division, if you have one negative sign and you're multiplying and dividing, the answer stays negative. But if you have two, one negative cancels out the other negative. Now it's time for you to practice on your quizzes. They're meant to be fun games, so enjoy. Good luck.